Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and welcome to Congregation Kol Ami. This is Rabbi Jeff Dennis speaking to you from the Sacred Circle of Light, and we are reaching out to all of you, all of our Kol Amites, all of our visitors of all genders and all the ships at sea. This is a special Shabbat for us, not only because Shabbat itself is a sacred and wonderful day, but we're also celebrating with the Armantor family. This is the bat mitzvah weekend of Shula Armantor, and we are delighted to be able to rejoice with her family. Plus, it's only our second online bat mitzvah. Yay! But we're going to make it fantastic, and Shula is going to be wonderful. So we're very excited to be able to celebrate with her and with her family. And I'm excited that you're all going to be able to get to know her and see her because she's an amazing young lady. So we're tonight with a little Nagun. It not be the usual because it's sort of prepping us for our closing song, which itself is probably going to be novel to you. So we're going to begin with the Nagun, the music from this song, and then we'll get our service started. So I turn it over to Lindsay.
I would also like to point out that it's Michelle Jim's birthday.
It's
Michelle Jim's birthday.
Actually on this day. Remarkable. Mazel tov, my dear.
So this is a camp song, but it's appropriate to the Torah portion that we're doing today. So it's Hine Tov Meod, and I'm just going to sing it in Lilai's this time, and then we'll do it again at the end. Okay?
We begin, as we always do, with connecting as community. It's our time for good and blessing that is happening around us, to us. It can't be anything too small. If it's worth celebrating, let us know. If you found a particularly glorious brand of chocolate, it's worth sharing with the community. So I'm looking forward to hearing what you have to say. You can, of course, online, share it with us via chat. So we're going to begin by checking in with everyone here and seeing what's happening. First of all, we are very grateful Lindsay is back with us. She had a little COVID encounter last week, which is why she wasn't here, but she's tested negative since and she's all done, and we're glad to have her back in person. Of course, we've got our fantastic producer, Bob. We also have our president with us, and that's Becky. And then we have the Armantor immediate family. We don't have the Needlemans with us tonight, but we are delighted to have the Armantors here. And then we have our delightful Harold. You prefer, I'm sorry, Harry. No, Harold. Okay. Harold, and we're also delighted to have Adrian with us. And we also have the Ducars. And we have Michelle Jim, whose birthday it is. And we have our esteemed Vice President, Paul Dietz, here. So we're thankful for all of them. What I know is on the agenda for Good and Blessing is Michelle Jim has a birthday this week. And in fact, apparently it's tonight. I should have baked the cake, but I didn't. Bob Leonard also has his birthday this week, and Naomi Tell has a birthday. As for anniversaries, we're celebrating and recognizing the anniversary of Mark and Terry Messing. May they have many years more. Now, who has something to report in the room? Anybody? Yes, Bob.
Well, I've got a couple of chat ones. Melissa Hart says she's very happy she got her magnifying glass, so now she can read the Hebrew vowel.
Yay!
And then Shula's grandmother wanted to say, of course, Mazel Tov to Shula, and thank you for all she does from your
Very nice. Who else? Anybody else? Yes, Steve.
I'm glad to report that Alyssa was able to survive her kidney stone surgery, and it ended up turning out that she passed two, and the
Excellent. As a fellow kidney stone survivor, I'm pleased for her. That's fantastic. Who else? Let's see, Madam President.
First 9 weeks, or 4 9 weeks in the books today.
All right.
5% of the school year done.
Yep, that's incredible. When we've made it this far, that's good. So, and let's see, at my house, we won't talk about my dog, but instead, hey, I discovered a new brand of chocolate. And it's a dark chocolate and it comes from Aldi's and it is fantastic. It's not good because I enjoy it so much, but I think it's called chocolat, which doesn't reveal much of anything, but it's an excellent dark chocolate. So good and blessing come in big and small packages all the time. But now we have the good and blessing of Shabbat. We want to celebrate that, and it's my privilege to invite up Dr. Deborah Armantor to kindle the lights of Shabbat. Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlikne shel Shabbat. Thank you, my dear. And if we turn to page 1, lesson we shared together in the aftermath. Adonai, whose presence fills the world, allows us to vote and inspires us to kindle Shabbat lights. May God bless us with Shabbat joy. May God bless us with Shabbat holiness. May God bless us with Shabbat peace. Amen. We now turn to Kabbalah Shabbat, our ritual for welcoming the Sabbath, a series of psalms that celebrate creation, but also recognize that sown into creation and sown into nature is a moral order. We begin with Psalm 95. Psalm 95. Come, let us sing joyously to Adonai and raise a shout to our rock and our deliverer. Come, let us enter God's presence in praise, and let us raise a shout for God in song. For Adonai is supreme, the sovereign over all beings. We turn now to Psalm 97 on page 4, and we'll read the English, and then we'll join together in singing Or Zeruach. Adonai reigns, let the land exalt, and the many islands rejoice. Dense clouds surround God. Righteousness and justice are the foundation of God's throne, and God's lightning illumines the world. Light is sown for the righteous, and radiance for the upright of heart. O you who are righteous, rejoice in Adonai, and acclaim God's holy name. Or Zeruach leTzadik. leTzadik.
ולשלב שמחה, אור זרוע לצדיק, ולשלב שמחה, אור זרוע לצדיק, ולשלב שמחה, ולשלב שמחה, אור זרוע לצדיק, ולשלב שמחה, ולשלב שמחה.
We turn now to Psalm 99, which conflates the beauty of a mountain with God's throne. Psalm 99. It is you who establish equity, you who works righteous judgment in Jacob. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down towards God's holy footstool. God is holy. Exalt Adonai our God and bow down toward God's holy mountain, for Adonai our God is holy. Psalm 29. Ascribe to Adonai, you children of God. Ascribe to Adonai glory and strength. Ascribe to Adonai the glory of God's name, and worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. May Adonai give strength to this people. May Adonai bless this people with peace. We're going to turn now to the conclusion of our Kabbalah Shabbat, Lecha Dodi, on page 7. And there will be a moment when I will be inviting people to rise up and turn towards the door and welcome the Sabbath into our midst. I'm going to designate Dr. Marshall Armantor and Harold to close the door for us, open and close the door for us. So, Lecha Dodi, page 7, if you have our prayer book.
Dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, zachor bedibu echad, hishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, l'shem u'tiferet v'lithilah. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lehu v'nelha, ki hi mekor habraha, mehirosh mikedem nesuha, sof maaseh b'machshavat hilah. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitorari, ki va'orei kumi ori, uri shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ha'atzeret bala, gam besimcha u'betzor emuneh asula, boi chala. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Leha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
So rouse yourself, for your light has come. Arise, shine, awaken, awaken. Give forth a song, the glory of Adonai is revealed to you. So come in peace, you crown of your husband, with rejoicing and with joy. To those who are faithful, a treasured people. Come, O Sabbath, come, O bride. Now it's my delight to be able to invite up Shula to lead the congregation in worship. We're going to be starting with the Hatzi Kaddish. Come on up, my dear. As I retreat to a safe distance.
Yikadal, Yikada, Shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Bioma Divrach Yosef, Yom Lich Malchute. V'chayechonu v'yomechu. Uchayete kol beit Yisrael. Bagala, Bagala. Uvizman Karif. Vimru, Amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevora Le'olmo Le'olmaya Yitbarach Yitbarach V'yishtabach V'yitpar V'yitromam V'yitnaseh V'yithadar V'yitaleh V'yitalal Shvei Gudashabre Birchata V'shi Dushvichata v'neh hemata dami ma vimaru. Amen. Please rise if able. Baruch et Adonai Hamvorah.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorah Le'olam Va'ed.
Please join me in the Ma'ariv Arvim. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher b'Torah Hariv Arvim V'chokmah Hariv Rafid et Hazmanim Hadir et Hakokavim Mishmera em Hechusna Yom Uvela Gulel Yom Mipnei Choshe V'Choshe Mipnei Or Hadir Yom Uvein Laila Bein Yom Uvein Laila Adonai Sivaot Shemo El Chai Tayim Tamid Yimloch Leolam Leed Ata Adonai Ha'ariv Aravim. Unending is your love for your people, the house of Israel, Torah and mitzvot, laws and precepts you have taught us. Therefore, Adonai our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and rejoice in your Torah and mitzvot forever. Day and night we will reflect on them, for they are our life and the length of our days. Then your love shall never depart from our hearts. Blessed is Adonai, who loves the people Israel. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Adonai. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchutav Leolam Va'ed. Please be seated. And please join. Oh, okay. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzocha hayom alevavecha b'shinantam levanecha b'dibartam bam b'shivtecha b'veitecha u'leptecha v'aderech u'shoftecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'chayu l'totafot b'neinecha. Uvtav tam ol mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. Lamon tiskeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai. Yitem kedoshim lelolechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher utzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim. Liot lechem Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Please join me. You shall love Adonai your God with all your mind, with all your. These words which I command you shall be upon your heart. Teach them diligently to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Be mindful of all my mitzvot and do them. So shall you dedicate yourselves to God. I, Adonai, am your God, who led you out of Egypt to be your God. I, Adonai, am your God.
Awesome. Well done, young lady. We continue now on page 14 with Emet ve'emunah. Emet ve'emunah kol zot v'kayam aleinu ki hu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ein zulato v'nachnu Yisrael amo. True and enduring, beloved and precious, awesome, good and beautiful is this eternal teaching. This truth we hold to be forever certain. Adonai is our ruler, the rock of Jacob, shield of our salvation. Adonai, our God, you redeemed us from Egypt. You set us free from the house of bondage. For this, the people who felt your love sang songs of praise to you. Living God, high and exalted, mighty and awesome, who humbles the proud, raises the lowly, who frees the captive and redeems the oppressed, who is the answer to all who cry out to you. All praise to God Most High, the source of blessing, and like Moses and Israel, we sing this song of rejoicing, the Micha Mocha.
מלכות טהרה ובניה בוקע ים לפני משה זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד
When your children saw your might at the shore of the sea, this is my God, they acclaimed. Adonai shall reign forever. We turn our attention now to the evening as it falls around us and as we prepare ourselves for sleep at night with Hashkivenu. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Grant that this night we lie down in peace, Adonai our God, and raise us up tomorrow, O Sovereign, to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel, and for your name's sake, be our help. Shield us from hatred and plague. Keep us from war, famine, and anguish. Subdue our inclination to evil. O God, our guardian and helper, our gracious and merciful sovereign, Give us refuge in the shadow of your wings. O guard our coming and our going, that always we have life and peace. We praise you, O God, whose sukkah of peace is spread over us, over all your people, Israel, and over Jerusalem. We turn now to, please rise if you're
Adonai sefata titahu fi agitehiltecha. Adonai, open up my lips and my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu ve'imoteinu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rahel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'hanora, El Elyon gomel hasadim tovim, ve'konei hakol, ve'zocher hasdei avot ve'imahot, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו ואהבה, מלך עוזר, מושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב והושיע. מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מלחמות הבעל גבורות אליו מרית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה ולמען אתה להיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, קדושים בכל יום יהרו הסלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. We continue in celebrating and honoring this special day, the day of Shabbat, with Yismechu v'Malachutecha on page 21. Those who keep the Shabbat and call it a delight shall rejoice in your kingdom. The people who sanctify the seventh day shall be gladdened by your goodness. This day is your desire, sanctified and blessed by you, the most precious of days, a commemorative to the work of creation.
שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותיה שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת מקדשי שביעי שבת כולם יזבחו ויצנגו מטובי השבת ישמחו במלכותיה שומרי 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 שבת וקוראי עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותיה שומרי שומרי קוראי עונג שבת ובשביעי רצית בו רצית בו וקדשתו שבת, עמדת ימים, אותו קראת שבת. ישמחו במלכותיה, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותיה, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי עונג שבת. זה למעשה בראשית שבת, זה למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותיה, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותיה, שומרי 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 שבת, בקוראי עונג שבת.
Reitzeh. Adonai, our God, show favor to us, your people Israel, and lovingly receive our prayers. May the worship of your people always be acceptable to you, for to you alone do we hold in reverence. And Moedim, we give thanks to you, Adonai, our God, God of our ancestors. You are the rock of our lives, the shield of our salvation for every generation. We thank you and we recite your praises. Let all the living affirm you and praise your name. Praised are you. All praises to you. Baruch atah Adonai hatov shimcha lecha ne'eh lahodot. We're going to close out this part of our liturgy with our prayer for abundant and expansive peace. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Israel amha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel amha tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Israel amha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Israel amha tasim leolam. V'tov beineha levarei et amha Israel. בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומיה. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. לעולם. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, שלום על כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. ואמרו אמן.
We are this week on the Torah portion Breshit, the very first portion of the very first book of the Torah. And it's most appropriate that there's been a recent discovery in the ancient Near East in literature that we are very excited about. You know, we rely oftentimes on cognate languages of the ancient world to help us understand ancient Hebrew better. And it turns out we've learned something. You know, for centuries, we've translated the word ha'adam, which we know as the word Adam, as the earthling. It seemed perfectly logical. It made perfect sense in Hebrew, but we've been looking at the Akkadian, and apparently it actually means rough draft. Now, if you now look at the comparable word for a woman, that is living thing or Eve, turns out it means production ready. So, with that rather lame attempt at a joke, I'm going to go on to go ahead and offer up my teaching of all the implications found in the biblical creation story. The most radical proposition is that we, human beings, dust and ashes, as God's image, but to imitate God. We are, in fact, given an authority over the rest of creation, including the authority to change it. We think, for example, of another place in the Hebrew Bible, in Leviticus 19:2, where it says, "Be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy." In other words, it's possible for us to be godlike or godly. The Talmud expands on this radical notion with the following. The sages taught, just as God is called gracious, so you be gracious. Just as God is called merciful, you be merciful. Just as God is called holy, you be holy. So too, the prophets described the Almighty by all the various attributes, long-suffering, abounding in kindness, righteous, upright, mighty and powerful, and so on. The sages said that they do that to teach us that these qualities are good and right, and that a human being should cultivate them and thus imitate God as far as we possibly can. This is an enormous challenge that has been placed before us, and there is yet more. For just as God is creative in the creation story, so we can be creative. We should be creative. In making man, God has endowed humanity alone with the capacity not merely to adapt to his environment, but to consciously adapt his environment to him, to shape the world, to be active, not merely passive. In relationship to the influences and circumstances around us, we can change them. The first chapter of Genesis, therefore, has a very important teaching for us. Be creative. And creative seems to unfold in 3 stages. The first stage is saying something like, let there be. The second stage is, and then there was. And the third, it's good. This model of creativity teaches us something found and maybe even a little counterintuitive. What is truly creative is not merely what we would call art or science or technology per se, but creative acts are those acts that yield a positive outcome. Building and technology are merely the means of us imitating God. Creation begins with the creative word, the idea, the vision, a dream, language, and with it the ability to remember a remote, unwitnessed past and to conceptualize possible futures lies at the heart of our unique creativity, at our image of God. Just as God makes the natural world by words, and God said, and there was, so too we make the world by words. Already in the opening of the Torah, the very beginning of creation is foreshadowed the Jewish doctrine of revelation and that God reveals himself to humanity, not just as we described in our Psalms in the sun and the stars and the wind and the storm or anything of the natural attributes in the world, but also through and by words, sacred words that make us nothing less than co-partners with God in the work of creation and by implication in the work of redemption, of making things not just good, but very good. And God said, let there be, and there was, is the second stage of creation. And for us as human beings, that's really the most difficult. It is one thing to conceive of an idea, a project, a goal, and it's another to execute it. Between the intention and the fact, the dream and the reality lies the eternal human struggle, the error, the fallibility of our imagination. It is all too easy, having tried and failed once and again, to conclude that in fact nothing ultimately can be achieved, nothing can be changed, the world is as it is, and some kind of failure or that indeed seems to be the conclusion of at least one disillusioned author in the Bible, the writer of Ecclesiastes, who seems to be forever disappointed in what can happen. The idea, however, that hubris always ends in tragedy is not really a Jewish idea. Torah teaches more often that though creation is difficult, laborious, and fraught with setbacks, we are summoned to it as our essential human vocation. As Rabbi Tarfon wrote in the Talmud, it is not for you to complete the work, but neither are you free to desist from it. As frustrating as our creative efforts can be, there is a lovely rabbinic saying that accompanies Rabbi Tarfon, and that is, when a being has a good intention, God joins in helping, and it becomes a deed. God gives us strength, if not now, if not yet, if not even soon, then eventually to turn a goal into an achievement. So if the first stage of creation is imagination and the second is effort, there are many who would argue that the human choice, however, we are deluding ourselves. It's an illusion that we can change. We are determined, we are told, by other factors: genetically encoded instinct, economic or social forces, conditioned reflexes. And the idea that we may choose to defy what is our inevitable nature is really nothing more than a myth. Well, it's our myth. Judaism has been from its beginning the argument for human freedom and human responsibility. We are in the image of God. Just as God is free, so we too are free. And the entire Torah is a call to us to exercise responsible freedom in creating a world, a human world, a social world that is not only marked by our dignity and shaped by our freedom, but recognizes of those around us all. Also, which brings us to the critical third stage, and God saw that it was good. This may be, in fact, the hardest intellectually of all the three to accept, because we are human. We see the world. We see the things that bother us. We see how terrible the world can be. Illness and death, corruption and cruelty. What does it mean to say that God looked at it and saw all this and said it was good? There are justifiably other ways to perceive our world. There are those who would say that the universe is utterly indifferent to us, or even that the universe in some way is evil. But God's assertion of its goodness teaches that the world is meant to be an arena of blessing, the staging ground of good, a veil of beauty, not of tears. And this may be the ultimate message. The life of spirit is not to be found by giving up on the world, by abandoning our world around us, by achieving some kind of transcendence or escaping its conflicts by some kind of mystical bliss. Rather, God wants us to be part of the world, fighting its battles, tasting its joy, celebrating the earned splendor that we accomplish through our 3 acts of creation. So even despite the fact you may feel otherwise, do what God does, declare it good. Even the damaged, even the criminal, even the hateful and the hurtful. The tragedy of some of the worst things in people we see is that they actually come from explainable circumstances, from difficult origins or bad upbringings, or the product of savage ideologies, so that they themselves do not recognize their innate nature, their dignity, their freedom to become something else, something more than what they present themselves as. Learn at some point to achieve what they wanted through hard work or persuasion or the generosity of spirit and deeds, rather than through diminishing others, the exercise of raw power, or even criminality. They have missed the divine image, either in themselves or in others. But to see that person is good, as God does, and to say so, is a creative act of will, the ultimate creative act. There are, you and I know it, people who are inescapably cruel, even evil. We've all seen and encountered at least one such person in our lifetimes. But remember, they are very few. Within almost all of us is something positive and unique, something that all too easily can get lost because of injuries, or because we are not seen. So see the good in others and help them to see it. In doing so, you help someone grow to become the best they can be. You can take them to the point of becoming what you pronounce it to be, good. Greater, says the Talmud, is one who causes others to do good than one who does good themselves. And so we are drawn back to those words, and God saw it was good. This too is part of the work of creation, the subtlest and most beautiful element of creativity and of creating the world we want. When we acknowledge and we encourage and we insist upon the goodness in something or someone, we not only imitate God's creativity, we help others to also discover their own creativity, to discover their own godliness within them, to approach what is godly and what is holy. This is what God does for us in declaring us good, and what he calls us to do for others around us. So it's now, as always, we are delighted to have our president, Becky Leonard, come on up and share the goings-on at Congregation Kol Ami with us.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Welcome to the Groundhog Day Friday that I always seem to call it. But the weather is cooling off nicely for those of you who get out and do things. It's a little brisk in the morning, which has just been a really nice change of pace, and hopefully we'll keep this weather for just a bit. So just a few announcements, not very much, as we slide into the fall. Religious school returns on Sunday, and we won't have another break until we get close to Thanksgiving, so November 22nd. The rabbi this weekend has several things planned to share with the 3rd through the 8th graders. during our normal service time on Sunday, which is 10:45 to 11:15. However, he really does need your help in preparing for this presentation. If you haven't already done so, please send a picture of yourself or your sons or your daughters holding the Torah at their B'nai Mitzvah. Send it to him, and it'll be included in our virtual Simchat Torah parade on Sunday morning. You can always find his email address where on the website that I consistently tell you to check, because all information is there. Or you can email it to Bob, and I'm sure he'll make sure it happens like he makes everything else happen. With that being said, we are celebrating Shula's B'nai Mitzvah this weekend, so we're excited to have that. We also have Esther Fripps, which is coming up next weekend, if you're not already aware. So as we share these wonderful events over Zoom, we just want to make sure everyone knows we're not having our regular Torah and Tefillah service. So just to make you guys aware of that, we return to normal-ish, or what we now call normal, on Saturday, October 31st. I think that's it for announcements.
That's it. Okay.
So as is our custom here at Congregation Kol Ami, we would like to wish healing to those in need of it. If there's anyone who has a name that they want to share over the chat, and I'll look for those who have a name before I read our list. Thank you.
Sandy Rosen, Stephen Horvitz, Shirley Tatum, Mike Nelson, Jay Harris, Terry Davis, Cindy Diamond.
Thank you. Anything on the chat? I'd like to add Melissa Toon. With that, we also add our congregation list: Anna Binder, Natalie Bovino, Dave Cook, Lena Kramer, Gordon Ellison, Tammy Ferris, Michelle Griffith, Mel Gross, Ken Hirschman, Jody Hoffman, Judy Hurwitz, Deb Kaufman, Alex Koenig, Lauren Koenig, Bill Lee, Sandy Lenzner, Stanley Levy, Al Lumna, Zach Marks, Judy Morasic, Don Neal, Herbert Paley, Adrian Sandler, Myra Schusler, Lawson Tate, and Suzanne Tate. Please join me with Misha Baruch on page 79. Misha Baruch Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Limotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu of healing with Shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Madam President. So in recent years, it's become my custom to invite the entire family of the Bat Mitzvah to come on up and open the Ark. I see no reason to suspend that practice. I'm just going to stand back and let the Armantors take charge of the Bima. We're turning to page 82 for the Aleinu. So if you're able, please rise. However you want to organize yourself. You go. There we go. Nicely symmetrical. That's great. Aleinu l'shameach l'adon ha'kol, l'teinu la'yotzer b'reshit, shalom asanu k'goyei hara. בשמיים ויוסר הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים עמם. Elohei meromi, Hu Eloheinu Eino, Emet Malkeinu Efesulato, Kakatu Vetorato, Viadata Hayom, B'Mashevota, Elevavecha, Ki Adonai Hu Elohim. Bashamayim mimam, ve'al haaretz v'itachat Elul. Go ahead and close, folks. Vayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo, Ushemo echad. Thank you all, and everyone be seated. Our lives, God, are in your hands. In you we trust. Whatever may be our destiny, we know that you will be there. Though we may never fathom the mysteries of life and death, we know of your gift of life, which each of us treasures. No matter what the final end, let us rejoice in the sweetness of the past and in our faith in a life to come. There will we find you, your love and your blessing. We recall with love and gratitude the names of those whom we have recently lost, as well as those whose anniversaries of death, whose yahrzeits occur this week. On our list for Shiva this week, we have Marilyn Neal, the sister of Joanne Fromm, and also Stan Sonnebaum, the close family member of Morgan Anderson. Is there anyone else here as a name for Shiva? Shloshim, this week we continue to remember Mike Eber, and we also honor the memory of Perry Lamarche. Is there anybody who's in Shloshim? I'm sorry? Thank you. Anybody online? For our yahrzeits, people connected to our community this week, we think of lovingly honoring Leon Bush, Tom Freeland, Thelma Foltz, Sam Hoffman, Abe Lappin, Rachel Sulzer-Lubarsky, Fred Margolis, Geraldine Turans, Hyman Vigo, Cantor Sharon Wallach, and Marjorie T. Wynn. Is there anybody else with a name to share with us for a yahrzeit? The memory of all these people are with us. We hope that for those who grieve for them, their memory grows sweeter as the years pass. And we, in our sympathy and as fellow mourners, rise to join with them to recite Kaddish on page 85. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'vyomechon, u'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, b'galal u'vizman kariv v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitormam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shmei d'kudsha, b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, damiran be'elma, v'yimru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba mim shemaya, v'yimru, amen. Hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn and comfort all the bereaved among us. And let us say, please be seated, everyone. So We have a closing song, but we're not even done yet because we've got to have Shula up here to help us with Kiddush. And but our song begins first. Right? Our song begins first, and it references directly back to the opening verses of the book of Genesis. It is Hine Tov Ma'od. God not only declares that every single day is good, except for Monday, God anticipates, and he sees it all, and it's Tov Ma'od. It is very good. Not perfect, mind you. That's our task, to perfect the world. But God sees the world as very good, and that is the basis for this song.
והיה אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד. והיה אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד. והיה אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד. והיה אלוהים את כל אשר עשה, והנה טוב מאוד. Here's some English. There was evening, there was morning, evening was morning, there was evening, there was morning, there was evening, there was morning. Vahi erev, vahi boker, tov meod. Vahi erev, vahi boker, tov meod. Tov meod. Tov meod.
All right, we're going to give Shula an opportunity to pick up that cup over there and come over and lead us in Kiddush. Let me step out of your way and put you in the camera.
I don't want to spill. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei Zikaron lama'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom tehillah v'mikrayei kodesh Zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim Ki vanu v'charta v'yotanu kidam Mikol Ami V'Shabbat Kodshecha V'Ava Uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat Amen. L'chaim.
Now, Shula, it is the custom here at Kol Ami during these periods of deprivation and struggle to throw food at each other. Would you like to be the person who casts out the first challah?
Sure.
Oh, good. All right. Everybody. So, ladies and gentlemen, join us in the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Start easily with Michelle.
Happy birthday.
There we go. Very nice. All right. Now go back for our executive vice president. Whoa, whoa. Okay. I'm in charge of this now. Back off. Back off. Wow. Wow. Too much power. Too much power.
Should be
Nope.
underhand or overhand?
I go for the soft pitch. You want to try the soft pitch?
Yeah.
All right. I'll give you a second chance. All right. So this time shoot at your own family just for. Whoa. Okay. Oh, no. All right. Too much force. You are a young lady of power.
I used to play sports a lot.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, now actually play to win. See if you can get it to them.
Okay.
Ready? Ready? Oh, okay.
Almost.
Good try. Good try. All right. All right. This is. Here we go. Nice. That was good. And yes. Yes. All right. And over there too. And I think we got it. Ladies and gentlemen, Shabbat Shalom. And I hope that some of you will be returning to join us as Shula celebrates her bat mitzvah and is called to the Torah tomorrow. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.